Hey,
All
good,
right.
good morning, Kevin. How the heck are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, fantastic. So, I think we have, okay, we have sound. Okay, there we go. We're waking up everyone with our roar. So awesome.
Always a little scary when there's technical issues at the beginning.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have someone from our streaming service, our help desk, is like flooded right in, and he's like, "Okay, testing. I think that we're seeing sound." And so thanks for everyone in the chat who was commenting and saying stuff, and thank you for Ollie on Restream tech support. Shout out to you for also verifying that sound is good. So awesome, thank you guys so much. But we're not here about sound checks. We
yeah.
are here. We're talking Microsoft Fabric. Me and Kevin, we're getting together every Friday 7:30 to 8:30 to like level up our abilities around Microsoft Fabric because this is a brand new platform. Kevin, do you want to give everyone just a quick little synopsis of what Fabric is, an overview?
Yeah, so if you haven't heard already, right, Fabric is Microsoft's software as a service platform for everything data, right? We'll just say it that way. They have moved the experiences of doing a lot of data engineering, data science, real-time streaming into the same platform that you're used to from Power BI. And Power BI is part of Fabric as well, right? So, kind of don't get confused. Power BI lives on its own and it lives within Fabric. Everything you know about Power BI from the past still exists, but you could add on these other things. The notebooks, the data lakes, the data warehousing, the workloads that they support, and the biggest thing that pulls it all together, what do we love? One lake.
Yes, one like is just amazing. So we're gonna be doing this, and this is a brand new feature and functionality. Like nobody's accustomed to this, so this is a learning experience for everyone, right? Like I love this because I learn something every single week in doing this, and I know Kevin. We were talking about this earlier. How much this
Mhm.
is helping you even take on challenges at your work, right? You were just telling me about that, right?
Yeah, yeah. As we were talking about earlier, so today we're going to look a little bit more at real-time analytics and learning the KQL query languages and some techniques for doing that. And it was very timely for me because I'm going to say at one of my clients, we had a perceived issue with the platform that I support. It actually turned out to be a network issue. It's always network. Um, but anyways, I wanted to kind of get in and see what the activity was, and we're logging to log analytics, and that goes into a Custo database. And I've done it before. I've always struggled through writing the KQL to get it. Not that I did great, or a whole bunch of analytics with it, but man, I was so much more comfortable writing the KQL this time because of the work that I was putting in to get ready for this live stream this week. So, there are real life applications for what we're talking about here. And so I hope you just, will learn a little bit and help you kind of get started and move down that path.
To that end, we want to understand more about you as our viewers. So, if you could you in the comments, we want to know two things, okay? We want to know what state or country are you from, as well as are you in the business or are you in IT or what department are you in, right? So, if you're in finance, I want to hear about finance or HR or you're in the data team. Let us know where you're coming from because Fabric and just like Power BI, it was really designed to help everyone inside your
Mhm.
organization. So we'd love to hear from you guys. And while you're at it, as soon as you get that in, it would really help us out if you'd share that inside your social medias, post it out on Twitter, out on uh, uh, LinkedIn, that type of thing, or heck, on your internal like Teams channels and stuff. Like this is a place to learn about Microsoft Fabric, and we're happy to take you on that journey. All right. And we
All
see
right.
Donald from Nebraska on the BI team. Awesome. And Joan joining us on LinkedIn. Awesome. And Mark also coming from Oregon, and he was finance. Now he's on the BI team. Awesome. Or
One
the
of those great success cases of how
mm-hmm.
Power BI helped move from the business, more to a technical side. So, we see a lot of people that do that, right? So, yeah, it's if you want to, kind of change your careers or add more to what you're doing, right? I think Power BI and Fabric could really help you do that. So,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
new you're passionate about that you didn't realize before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So exciting to see everyone coming together and starting to learn this. But enough of this jibber jabber and talking. Kevin, are you ready to head over to your desktop?
Let's head over to my desktop. Let's start talking about real-time analytics. So this kind of got started because of Chris's lunch and learn that happens on Wednesdays, and hopefully you're joining him on Wednesdays as well. Um, so we'll apologize early for the name, but I think it's uh, Tiza, or I think is how you pronounce it. I'm going to stick with her Starbucks name of Stephanie. I think she said it was
Yeah.
a whole lot easier. I laughed when she told you that during the live stream. But she did a really good. She's from Microsoft, a PM on the real time analytics, and she did a good job talking about what it is, a little bit of the use cases, and things like that. Today, we're going to take a look at it. We'll reset the table, we'll go through this documentation that I have here. Let's talk about what it is, when to use it. And then I want to get into more of how it works. I went through the tutorial and I went through this fun exercise called the Custo Detective Agency. And so I want to share both of those with Chris and with the audience. So hopefully you guys will find this interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
and so
Yeah.
let's frame what is the Custo Detective Agency.
Yeah, so that's going to be a way to help you learn KQL. And I know there's a lot of people, what I'm seeing across social medias and conversations, there's a lot of people that are going, man, they put so much out here and there's so much to learn. And yeah, that is true, but take everything at the steps that you're ready for and decide what to kind of focus on and get ready, to get into something. But if you want a way to learn KQL, this Custo Detective Agency that I'll show here in a little bit definitely helps you do that. And that's where what I was saying with my client, Custo, the KQL can be used against any Custo database, and log analytics that does a lot of real time logging for the Power BI infrastructure goes into a Custo database, and you could use KQL to get to it. I will also, just spoiler alert, right? There's a way to do some SQL against a Custo database as well that I learned during the detective agency.
Well, that's quite exciting. And one of the big things that a lot of people have asked in the past, but like they've wanted to know, how do I find out what reports or in a given report, what people are what are people clicking on, what are they doing inside these reports? Little known fact, you can sort all of that stuff out by having log analytics attached to your Power BI data set and then using Custo to go through and dig through those logs. And you can figure out what are people interacting with,
Hmm.
and you can even figure out what measures are being used in your model and what aren't, what attributes are being visualized and what aren't. So if you have these huge models like a lot of enterprises do, because
Hmm.
oh hey, we have to have all these columns because these are things we have to have. A brief analysis in Custo could say, hey, you know what, 90% of these columns aren't in use. Maybe you can slim down some of these real high cardinality, high data columns that are out there.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent use case. And let me mention another one. Um, I have a client, we're running we'll call it a data set. We're running that on Azure Analysis Services, which is just another hosting technique for a data set, just like how you host it up on Power BI. Well, for cost, we want to move it over to their Power BI premium capacity. But of course, we want to make sure that things perform the same way. So I'm using the log analytics and KQL to go through the log analytics to grab the actual DAX statements, the queries that come through from whether they're coming in through Excel or they're coming in through with Excel, it's going to be an MDX query, but you can run that as well. But all the DAX that's coming through the Power BI reports, whether it's on their desktop or even up on the service. So I could profile queries and then test it against what I've migrated to Power BI Premium to ensure I'm going to get the same performance. So there's another good use case for it. But going through this document, it's not only telemetry type data like what we're talking about with log analytics. If you have a setup where you could stream data in or pull data in into Custo, it scales up from everything that they're saying and what I'm seeing from the training document that I went through. It could take on millions and millions of rows extremely fast. So it's been a very good eye-opening experience for me this last week, getting deeper into this. So let's kind of go through, what makes real-time analytics unique. Let me make sure my mouse is in the right place, and we'll zoom in a little bit on that. Maybe that's too much. That looks blurry. Let's just keep it normal then. All right.
Yeah.
So you tell me if that looks readable enough, Chris, for everybody.
I think it's pretty good. I'm
Okay.
watching through multiple streams, and we can read it. Yep.
So I'm going to focus on the second bullet point first. Easy to ingest and load data from any source in any format. And the tutorial, the training that they put out there that I'll show you here in a second, really emphasized that. It was extremely easy to get something set up that is capturing data, bringing in data real time. I watch it. It grows every minute, every second. So it's streaming by default, right? Bullet number 4 there, which is wonderful. A lot of people ask for real time. And, my question a lot and with a lot of clients has been, are you sure you really need real time, or are you talking near real time? And most of the time they're coming up to real time or near real time. But there are cases that you want to know things a little bit sooner or a little bit faster. And this, I think, is going to be the answer for it. It's been available kind of through Azure and everything, but just like everything else with Fabric, they've made it easier to stand it up. So that's what I really love about it. By default, they're partitioning the data, and I think they had on here that they're indexing the data. Here it is. Yeah, that same bullet point. Default partitioning and default indexing. So the queries become extremely fast as you're running them. I've been really surprised how quickly they are running, even though I've let the data grow. The data structures.
One thing
Yeah.
around that, setting
Mhm.
I forget what the setting is, like time to live or how long you store data in your Kuso database is kind of important. It is very possible for you to grow a massive amount of logs there. So just be mindful of that as you're trying to like manage your Azure and cloud spend. If you're talking about like a small model or small bits of information, sometimes it's not a big deal. But if you're in a large organization, you have lots of data that's streaming in, just be mindful of the sizing.
I think that's a good point. And what I'm wondering, because when I went through the tutorial, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, sorry, I didn't see anything that talked about pruning off the data. And I think it's because they're also backing it with the One Lake.
Oh,
So what I
yeah.
think you're talking about is like when we typically set up a log analytics workspace, there's a default of either, I think you could set it to 7 days or 30 days or whatever, and it automatically starts pruning it. And you tend to do that because of a cost factor with it. I didn't see anything on here to set that up.
Actually, that's fair enough. I believe, I was just referring to log analytics. This probably has that built in.
Yeah,
Although that's something we should check out,
I
right?
think it's something. You're right. Again, we're still in this learning phase. We're in preview and everything. We're not up to QA yet. Excuse me, I have a cough today. But I think you're right. It's something we need to learn and kind of look at because this last bullet point scales to unlimited amount of data. There will be some type of cost, some type of price that you pay for that, as always.
Well, you pay for storage, and
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's something like $20 for every terabyte. So
yeah,
not a big deal if you have like a few hundred gigabytes of data. That's not going to break the bank. But
yeah,
if suddenly you're generating petabytes of data into this thing every day, well, okay, different conversation, right?
yeah. So I haven't seen. I'd like to ask the audience, right? Have you looked at real time streaming before? Have you had requirements that came out from that, or even as we keep reverting back to log analytics, it's something we kind of know about. Has anybody in our audience used that? If you could enter it into the chat so we could kind of know what else to kind of keep talking about here. Okay,
Oh,
so let's go through their documentation again a little bit on the when to use real-time analytics. And we've touched, I think, on a bunch of this points. Do you need data that is ingesting, freshness? You need it to come up very quickly. You already have some type of streaming. Um, do you have data? This is a very important point. Uh, do I need to search data in different formats, and especially like complicated JSON or other type of arrays? This, I think, could be one of the game changers with this is once you learn it. We typically think of we land data in, we're going to write things like notebooks or SQL or whatever to do transformation, and then start setting up structures to do reporting on. This KQL language allows you to go through any of the type of data and start pulling pieces out. I think it's very flexible, so you don't have to get in and kind of turn all of your data into well-known schemas. You could do it on the fly with the KQL language, and we'll see some of that as we get into the training and everything. To me, it's kind of this is what makes it more real time. Is you're eliminating that you have to have this ETL layer in the middle of it just to go through the data. You still may want that for your long-term data warehousing or other type of projects, but to quickly look at some of the data, I think that's a huge benefit. I see we're getting a lot of comments in the chat,
we
Chris.
sure are.
Are we getting people saying they're using it?
Yeah, some are, and alt enter is coming in like I think a lot of people are. Is like, hey, why would I use it? What are the business cases that maybe I'm completely oblivious to? Right? Like, hey, I live in a world where maybe I just have data coming in every single night.
Mhm.
Um, and like I'm just uncomfortable with that. What would I use it for? And so we've started to have some great comments. Renzi is using it for telemetry data from a vehicle. Uh,
Mhm.
I've seen some of those use cases on that. Like, hey, what's the oil heat at? What's your RPMs? What
Mhm.
speed are you going at? Right, those types of things can be very useful as you're doing things. Right. Jai is using it for a scorecard for beach volleyball matches in real time.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, that's super fun. Would love to hear where you're getting that data feed to see like what types of reports we could put together on that. That'd be kind of a fun, cool thing to
Yeah.
see.
I was
Um,
wondering about that while going through this about using it for sporting events and things like that. That's a very interesting use case. Like can you have something that you're easily streaming, when you hit a score or stats or something like that, and then it's
mm,
turning around and turning it into nice visuals to show in real time.
yeah,
I love
and
that.
Ali's saying he's using it for energy consumption.
Okay.
Uh, that makes a ton of sense, especially as we're all trying, like everyone's trying to go green, right? How I
Hmm.
mean, like we're all using electricity. How can we use less of it while we still need it, right? So that is a fantastic use case of it. Uh, oh, Renzi is using it. Geofencing for contract review.
Oh,
Oh, that's
interesting.
interesting. Yeah. I don't even exactly know how you would do that, but that is that's cool. But as we can see, there's like a ton of use
Yeah.
cases for this real-time streaming. I know I've seen it heavily in use with like manufacturing environments, right? Where you've
Hmm.
got machines that are running and operating, and shutting down a machine in manufacturing has some like legitimate dollar amounts associated with it, right? Like a machine being down for, it's measured in minutes, and they know the tens of thousands of dollars that go into each minute. So you
Hmm.
want to, if a machine is going to be down for like a shift change or operations or maintenance, you want to make sure that you're being as effective and efficient as you can with that machine, because everything has wear parts, everything has things that have to be swapped out. That real-time streaming can be used to like say, hey, at the next shift change these, three pieces. We're starting to see issues or variants starting to stem from those, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so I highlighted in the documentation here, and I think we touched on a lot of these, right? So it just kind of adds into what Microsoft has already seen, right? Finance, transportation, right? We talked about transportation, with the oil and monitoring cars and stuff like that. Manufacturing operations, oil and gas makes sense, right? Kind of watching some of the wells and the
Hmm.
things going on out there. So it may not be things that everybody's kind of getting into, but maybe getting into the sports part of it is something that we could build on later on. That one interests me. So okay,
And Kevin, everyone
yeah.
loves your style, so like they're very excited to be here to check out,
Thank you.
check you out. Yep,
All right.
awesome.
So let's see. They have this diagram here, right? Talking about how we're doing the ingest. Um, what the training is going to run through is event streaming into the Custo database and then into query sets and Power BI. And that's what we'll get into next. I haven't tested these other ways of doing ingest yet. That's not within the training, and maybe some of that is coming. Maybe, again, we're in preview, so we always got to explore with what we have at the time. And what else? So,
Well, do you want a
yeah,
quick hit on the pieces inside of this architecture?
I was thinking of going into the training to kind of show some
All
of
right,
that,
yeah, let's
but
get right into it. Let no,
yeah.
let's do it. Let's talk through it as we go. That's a great idea.
Okay, so let me switch screens. If you want to take this screen down, and then let me find
Sure thing.
the right one from here.
Oh, and I do have a few things. While Kevin is readjusting and realigning his screen, just a few notes for everyone who's in chat. We are going to be following the Matthew Roach principles. We have a couple rules, because we are here to answer questions for you. We want to help. So if you have questions, please prefix the question with the Q, so we can get that into our queue, so we can get them answered. And then also, please do not repeat questions. If you keep repeating questions, we're going to actually remove it from the queue, and we'll pull that out. And like one of our moderators will kind of block you from spamming the queue, as well as like no unprofessional stuff going out there. I mean, this is a good group. We haven't had any of that, so thank you guys so much for
Hmm.
that. But just for awareness, so nobody's caught off guard with this stuff, that would be just a our rules for the live stream. All right, let's head over to Kevin's
Okay,
desktop and go over this scenario.
yeah. So, kind of back to now, I'm looking at the training documentation, right? So the scenario is we're going to look at the New York yellow taxi data that Microsoft has already set up a streaming service for us to keep pulling this in, which I think is wonderful because it really helps emphasize the value of real time analytics. So as you're asking, kind of what are we going to stand up, right? we're going to have a what they call a KQL acousto database. And we enable it to go to OneLake. The training doesn't take you further into looking at the tables that come up in OneLake. I haven't found them very easily yet, but I'll keep looking and hopefully we'll come back to it. So we're going to create an object called an event stream, and that event stream will be doing the copy from their streaming service into the KQL database that we set up. And I'm going to switch to the Power BI or the Fabric interface, and we'll see that. We'll get some additional historical data. We'll bring in, there's two ways that we're bringing in data: streaming, and then this location historical data. And then we're going to start building out the query sets, which are just, that holds your KQL queries. And then the last is creating a Power BI report. Now, one thing I do want to switch over to quickly.
So and hang on,
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment. I am posting into the chats the link to this. So if you want to like follow along at home, like go right ahead. This is something you should be working through. We're going to be working through it inside this live stream, so you can learn and go as we go, right?
Yes. So like I said, I've done this already. I think I'm going to switch to the right screen. I'm going to kind of show the ends, right? I want to show the Power BI report first, because this is, I think, going to hit home on everything that we're talking about. And hopefully this is working still today. Something I should have checked early in the morning. But this is the report that they ask you to produce. And they ask you to produce this map and then this, this chart object down below. But I added this count on the side. And if you noticed, it just updated, right? So where are we at here? 1.7 million, right? I should have put commas in there and stuff. I didn't build out my nice measures or anything. But if we watch, this is going to refresh about every 10 seconds. And you can see that the count is going up. We're getting data. I'm not refreshing data sets. My hands are off the keyboard right now. And this report is just automatically updating and getting new data.
So nothing up your sleeve, Kevin, is what you're
nothing
saying?
Up my sleeve. I just think that's amazing. Because we always talk a lot, or I talk a lot about the lag time. Maybe you need lag time in order to make a decision. But in real time, like I said, if you're watching the temperature of a freezer or the pressure of an oil in some machinery or something like that, you don't want lag time. You want that to come through here and be able to set alerts. And in your lunch and learn that you had, remember we have what is it? What's the new name of
RTA?
The React, the make decisions or have the data perform actions already.
Oh,
I know,
Activator? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they haven't released it, and we had a code name for it. Now I keep losing what the name is, right? But it's going to be that making where it could monitor the data, send out alerts, or make decisions, make changes for it.
Oh my
Boy, we stumped
Data
each other.
Activator. Holy
Data
crap!
Activator. Thank you.
I'm sorry. That is Data Activator. I think it's going to be. I think that solves the question of like, okay, so this is my data, but how do I do something with it, right? How do I automatically do something with it? I think that's going to be huge. And holy cow!
Yeah. So now think about combining these two together. We got stuff streaming in, right? And as you see, our counts just keep going up here. And so you could have Data Activator watching that for you, and watching for whatever your rules are to take care of business, I guess, right? So
yeah,
wonderful idea. All right, so going through the training, we end up creating this KQL database. We have a real-time analytics stream, and some of these things in creating them shows you one UI, and then looking at them shows you something different. So we might try to create one here in just a little bit. But let's look at the database real quick. And you could see that you're going to set up, you have tables, you could bring in shortcuts. This whole dashboard gives you some statistics on what's going on inside your KQL database. Number of queries run within the last month. You can see the activity, where the how much data that's coming in. So it's pretty nice. Then you could break down. Let's look at the New York taxi trip. The schema that it figured out is here for you. And let's go ahead and run some queries to kind of see what this looks like. And I'm going to go back up here. And do I have I only have my Power BI KQL. But let's go back to this, and let's say query table, and I'm going to show 100 records. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are not there, you're streaming a data set, and you're not there with Kusto yet, you notice down here, it's got SQL. And you could say show any 100 records. So either you could do this through a SQL command or through a KQL command. So let's show the 100 records there. It's going to bring this up. And you can see it added. This first part here is just saying, hey, what table that I want to work with? I'm starting to turn that into, that's my where, or that's my from clause from SQL, right? Then
Okay.
this take 100 is part of my select clause. Select top N asterisk from New York taxi trips. And then there's my results down below.
Oh,
And
that's fascinating.
Yeah. So as I always kind of got to turn my head into SQL because I've worked with it for so long, right? So now if we want to say, if we want to put a where statement in, right, we're putting it into a different spot. You got to get used to writing this pipe here. And we got IntelliSense and everything. So we could put a where, and we could say where, let's pick something. Let's vendors right here. Let's say where vendor ID equals 1.
And I'm including inside the chat links to the documentation from Kusto, from Microsoft side, about how to learn it, how to get started in it. So you should see that now.
Oh, here's the other thing I had to get used to. They like the double equal, right? To say it is equal. So now I could put my cursor on that. When I click run, it's only going to click that one, right? So now this is, how do you teach SQL, Chris? I've heard you do this so many times. It's
select from where, right? It's an alt enter brought it up, right? Like everyone can do SQL. It's select from where, right? You get that in and you got it, right?
So there's the first part of it. So now let's do this the same thing, right? Select asterisk, or I think I could say top 100 asterisk from, and I'm going to copy here. And I'm going to run. We have results. So you can't start with SQL. And I think I haven't tried this here. Because I'm gonna reveal this, and then I'll talk about how we got that. Okay, so I did this explain command, and we know explain, if you get deep into SQL, that it tells you like how the execution plan. Here, this converts the SQL that you wrote into KQL. So now this did a little bit different, to where you see it introduced us to this this project command, which seems to be like our select list, right? Select, instead of asterisk, here's all the columns it's selecting, and it's taking the top 100. So you could use that method to learn KQL, right? You make it that you can't do everything you want against the database in SQL, but maybe this will help you get started. So thinking, that through, how did I learn that? We'll get into that in just a little bit. I want to make sure we cover enough things on the fabric side before we get to the fun learning way that they have to learn KQL.
That's impressive, man. I am stoked about that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So even if you stand something up and you need to work with it, it becomes extremely easy. So how did I create the Power BI report once I learned enough of the query, or actually they go through that enough within the tutorial? I'm going to bring up this KQL query set, and all that is like a saved file, right, for a way to share queries across within the workspace, basically, right? So that's a simple way of doing it. So during the training, they help you build out this query, and what you could do is just simply have your query. Let's run it to make sure it works, and we could see it's returning data for us. And when we're happy with it, you click on this one little button that is build a Power BI report, and it brings up a Power BI report. I don't think this runs too long. You can see it produces just the one big table from the query that you have, which is fine.
Right.
And then you could start adding objects, visuals onto that, save the report to come out with what I have. Was that the Power BI report? Oh, sometimes this interface doesn't switch fast enough for me. Oh, that was the KQL. Right. So that's how I ended up building this report. Saved it, and then I started changing things a little bit more. This is where the modeling on the web comes up as well, because I could go back into this data set that it created for me. I could enable modeling on the web in a workspace. Remember, you have to turn that feature on. Open the data model. Now, if I wanted to, I could add my proper measures. Is something I probably should have done, right? So I could do formatting, things like that. I could change the model here right up on the web, and a great way of doing it.
I mean, that's fantastic, Kevin.
I wasn't sure if I lost you for a second there. I saw Dax come
No,
up all of us.
I'm still here.
I saw Dax come up, and I thought something happened.
Dax joined us. He was all excited, and he's all into it. So,
nice.
Yeah. But this is incredible. How long would you say it took you to go from like, all right, I want to get started in working with this, to actually having this up and running and be able to do this demo?
Going through their training, let me see, I think it's the one I got right here. Going through this tutorial, I want to say took me less than an hour. I did it kind of on and off through a few things because I did let it build, but it wasn't a lot of time at all. This tutorial is written very, very well. It'll help you get there. A couple little things that I ran into at the end when we start talking about building the Power BI report. They're asking to use this map visual, which is fine, but it's not on within tenants by default. So if you're running your own dev tenant, which I recommend, that's how you try to learn these things, you could get into your admin portal, turn the map features on, and it'll start working. If you're doing it off your corporate tenant and they decided not to turn that on yet, well, then obviously you have to work with your tenant admin to do it. Another advantage of why I always recommend people want to learn, set up their own dev tenant. Microsoft gives you a free one. It's great. Utilize that resource. The second thing that I ran into is they talk about changing your refresh settings and set it to 10 seconds. And that's why I ended up adding the counter to the page as well. And what I noticed is it wasn't refreshing. So by default, Power BI's capacity and tenant settings are set to refresh every 5 minutes. So if you want to get to this tenant, this 10-second setup, you need to go into the capacity you have for your trial, and you could set it either at the capacity level or at the tenant level, and move this down so you could see it refresh faster, or just wait the 5 minutes, right? So 5 minutes wouldn't have worked here for our live stream, so I did go ahead and reconfigure that. So just a
Well, and that makes a great deal of sense. I would like to point something out here. We're going to actually drop the screen for just a second. Uh, Studies have shown that there's a rule of 100. I don't know if anyone's heard of this before, but if you spend 100 hours focused in on a given subject or topic over the course of a year, you'll be smarter than 95% of the people that work out in that field or effort or that area, right? So, an hour is perfect because you could join us for an hour on Fridays, and then you could go and do a Microsoft Learn event for an hour, and you can really start to sharpen that axe and really master your craft. So the more you can do in that space, the better. And that's why these learning programs that are designed for an hour are so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and what you want to also go to is something that's fun. So what I have up on the
Yep.
screen now is a link. Let me move up. Is a fun exercise that Microsoft put together called the Custo Detective Agency. And with season 2, they're talking, they have things on there to integrate it or to do it within Fabric, right? So you can see they talk about creating your own KQL database within Fabric, or you could create your own cluster, step number 2 here. One of the, excuse me, one of the big mistakes that I made is I didn't read the page here, and then the FAQ on the Custo Detective Agency talked about creating something in a workspace. If you're going to do this, in order to log in, create your Custo database in your My Workspace if you're allowed to. Otherwise, you can just set up the free cluster as well. And then you could do it the way I did is I created the Custo database in an actual workspace, and I used the copy function to copy the commands over. A little bit, one extra step, but you do have to have a login to get to the Custo Detective Agency. So let's take a look at what that looks like real quick. This is where I'm at on the Custo Detective Agency. You come in, and they have kind of an email-like interface. And you start off, you'll first get an email that's an onboarding exercise. And when you go through that, what they have up here is the training for the class. So you can click into the train me for the case. And they're going to go through, and you can see here, they're giving you the KQL statements to run. And then they start challenging you with some questions. And if you get stuck, you could decide to unhide the query and learn it from there. So, and then you check your answer. And then the way the exercise goes, they're going to come up with a question. Let me bring this up from the bottom. Oops, that is not, I clicked on the wrong thing. Right there.
So how cool is this,
Yeah.
right? I mean, honestly, this to me feels like the gold standard in how to learn and work with a new tool, right? It's got
Exactly.
something really cool. It frames it up in a fun way for you to engage with and work with it. Wow. I mean, huge kudos or kustos. Oh gosh, to whoever at Microsoft came up with this, or I presume it's Microsoft, but
Yeah,
whoever came up with this, well done.
it seems to be a collaboration between Microsoft, and then they have this powered by AMD, whoever that is. So,
Who's AMD?
so if you also need hints, there's a hint up here. Oh, and I guess it only comes active if you go through each hint. Yeah, I didn't realize that before. So then,
That's cool.
once you finish a case, they will email you the next case. And, I'm going to tell you that even though you go through the training gives you the pieces, parts to kind of solve it. You are going to have to think through some of the logic, right? It's not going to be that they just give you the final answer. So to me, that kind of came off kind of satisfying as well. Is you're able to go through the hints, you're able to go through the train me for the case to get the pieces that you need, and then read the question, look at the data. You are going to have to explore the data and think through it a little bit more. Come up with your own queries to finally answer this final question. And then once you get it right, they'll give you a badge, and then they'll send you the next case. You'll see that it's like 10 hours before I get my case number 3. If you look through the facts, the FAQ, there's prizes. I think it's in here. Rules of the game. This is going to be kind of stretched out for a while. Here's where the prize information is. Let me make that a little bit bigger. So there's 10 cases to, let's see, 5 cases to solve in season 1 and 10 in season 2. So they're going to go through this, for quite a while, and it's only going to be released every 2 weeks. One of the things I pointed out to their help desk is I'm a little concerned that we're talking 20 weeks, if you start it from day 1, where if you're trying to do it in Fabric, we have a 60-day trial in Fabric. So you may want to consider going ahead and setting up that free cluster to because it's going to work the same between both, right? I like to keep doing it on Fabric because I like to keep seeing, that interface and everything. You might have to get a different trial or something like that, but just kind of be aware of that. The cases are going to have to be solved in order. And as was talked about on your Lunch and Learn, there's prizes. So the first players who solve case 3, I may have to stay up till 11 more hours, stay up late tonight because I could get $25. Case 6 is another $25. And then case 10, $50. I think they changed it. I could have sworn it said something different a while ago.
Wow.
But yeah, so the other thing that they had on,
That's like legit cash, right? Like that's cool, right?
They did update this because, as I pointed out, I came here to figure out what to set up. Now they have it, so I reached out to help, which I'll tell you that their help email, they responded. I think it was on a Sunday that I sent it to them. They responded within about 10 minutes. So they're actively watching this. If you need something, if something goes wrong, I was impressed with how quickly they turned it around. We had a good conversation. They made this update since the time that I sent them the email because I have the screenshot that says create a workspace. They're definitely dedicated to this.
And Raphael is pointing out that that the free cluster is for a year and can be used with any type of account and can be used in production too, by the way. So that's exciting.
Okay. Yeah. So, go ahead, set yourself up a free cluster, or do it. If you are doing it from Fabric, do it in your personal workspace, because up here at the top, let me click on it. If you notice, I have put in a cluster path. That's your login. And so the cluster path has to be to your My Workspace if you're using Fabric, or you will get a very generic error message. This happens to be the cluster that I set up. I'm not using the cluster. Like, I'm going through, let me go back and bring up one of the cases. What I'm doing is when I go through the train me, I just use this copy feature, and then that puts it into my clipboard. I paste it into a query set on my Fabric side. But if you have it set up to to the actual cluster and you got your data imported and everything, that's the advantage, is you could just click run there. So, and remember where I said you could change SQL to KQL? This is exactly where I learned that. I did not know that existed before until I came through this exercise. So, again, I've even kind of used it to where I wrote a SQL a couple times going through these exercises, said, oh, now explain it. Let me try to do that in KQL. So if that's how you need to learn, this is a good way to help you bridge from one technology that you might know to another.
Well, this is absolutely fantastic, Kevin. I'm excited about this. Has anyone in our chat been through the Cuso Detective Agency? Have people done this as of yet? If you have, please post it into the chat to let us know that you have done this, or if you've been through this, what's your experience on it? We want to hear about that. I mean, honestly, I absolutely love how this is set up. I think, hey, Microsoft leadership, how do we get this type of commitment, this type of creativity, this type of training available for all of our tools, right? Like, wouldn't it be great to have something similar for data engineering or data science or any of these other capabilities? This would be fantastic, right?
Yeah, I do remember, maybe it was one of the Saturday live streams, or some other time with Adam, where Adam Saxon from Guy in a Cube, where he brought this up, and he agreed with what you just said. He loved it, and he also thought, hey, with it all being fun, we need to do more things like this, right? I totally agree. I think it's something that gets you thinking a little bit different, like I said, because it's not just giving you the answer. Sure, going through the training and everything is laid out for you, it's a good starting point as well, because maybe you don't want to stumble, you want to be successful, right? But like this, to where here's all the pieces and now you got to put the pieces together. Well, that's what we're doing back in our jobs, right? We don't have everything just laid out for us and somebody says, hey, produce this Power BI report, and we got a step-by-step thing that says copy this DAX in or anything like that. You got to take the pieces of everything and be able to put it together, and that's where that's our jobs, right? So this takes you through that last step, which is, to me, again, just kind of wonderful for it.
Well, and I do want a quick call out, because we're nearing the end of our conversation and our show. Next week, Kevin, I understand you're not going to be able to join us. You've got some conflicts, right?
Yeah, I had an appointment already after, that was set up quite a while ago, and then we decided to do this. So yeah, so sorry, I'm trying not to leave you alone. Are you gonna be able to do this?
Well, I have good news. Good news. You're not just going to be saddled with a solo Chris Wagner. We're excited. In fact, let me go on the screen for the big announcement.
There you go.
Excited that we are going to be the first. This is the first time we're going to be able to host and bring on board Power Mates. So Power Mates is going to be joining us. That's Gaston and Alex. I'm sharing in the chat. This is their brand new YouTube channel. Gaston and Alex are Microsoft Data Platform MVPs. They've just started a brand new YouTube channel called Power Mates, where they're running through all sorts of different things in Fabric, and they're going to be introducing it to you. Please head over to Gaston and Alex's YouTube channel, like and subscribe to their stuff so you can start to see their content. But Alex and Gaston are going to be here next week, and we're going to be running through some things in Microsoft Fabric. So you're not just going to be dealing with the solo Chris Wagner next week. All right.
Glad you're not alone. Didn't want to leave you hanging there, buddy.
Well,
Donald was suggesting you bring in less. So, but yeah, I've met them. They're very good at what they do. So I think it'll be a great session. I know I will be watching while I can. If not, I'll catch up with it and everything. So I'm excited to hear what they have to talk about as well.
Awesome. And we've got a whole long list of things that we're going to be going through inside Microsoft Fabric because it is huge and the number of resources that are out there are significant. And, frankly, uh, every week we're coming up with new scenarios and new situations of things to use
Hmm.
Fabric for and things that Kevin and I are exploring. But if you, our viewers, have specific challenges or issues or questions, or things you'd like to see us cover, why don't you post those into the chat as well?
Hmm.
We want to be out there and help you on things, when it comes to working inside of Fabric. All right.
Yeah, please let us know. We love to put something together. May not get to it right that one week. We may take us a week or two to learn it, but you know, we want to put together material that y'all want to hear or learn about. So, what are your questions? How can we help answer them? Like Chris said, we have plenty of topics, and I'm sure that'll just keep growing with what they're going to release and push out into Fabric. Um, and you know, there's a ton of people that are putting Fabric material out there. They're doing a great job as well. So we'll learn from them as well and come back and give you our own spin on it. So keep
Awesome.
coming
Well,
back. Thank you for being here.
yes, thank you guys so very much. And I think unless Kevin, you have anything else, we're gonna head on out and get to work because we got work to do, right?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I appreciate everybody being here. Sorry for my voice cracking every so often, but it is what it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Oh, and I forgot to mention on Monday, I'm going to be going live and doing the part 2 of the Fabric deep dive. It's a vacation. It's a holiday in the United States, so I've got the day off. So what do I do on my days off? I spend it working with data because what else would you possibly do on a day off?
Working with data and
Look for a
sharing
live.
with you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So look for a live stream as I continue to plow through the Microsoft Learn stuff on Monday as well. So thank you guys so much. You guys have a great day. We will see you later. Peace. Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.